Hello fellow civil engineers and welcome to the training desk at New Way Designs. This is Will and I'm here to hand you that express ticket to practical Civil 3D knowledge. I want to go slow enough so that you don't have to pause every 3 seconds and fast enough so that you're not falling asleep. Today we're going to show you how to grade a single family lot using simple feature lines and grading groups. Let's get this turned around. We are going to grade lot 6 here as an example today. Let's talk about what is in front of us on the screen first. Background information. We have an existing road over here that we're proposing a 12-foot driveway from, crossing an existing swale over a culvert pipe, leading up to a side load garage on a slab-on-grade future single-family residence. So to generate our proposed contours for this, we're going to build a surface from feature lines and grading groups. Before we get started on that, we're going to get a reference base surface data referenced in here. Over here in my tool space, I have the data shortcuts already set up. We're going to create a data reference to this existing surface we have. We'll just turn it on to no display because we already have the polylines displayed through the XREF. We'll hit OK. So that's in here live. You can see it in your tool space, e.g. there it is. We can now use grading groups later. Now that we're at this point, let's sit down for a moment and think, where do we want feature lines? And what are feature lines, really? So feature lines are pretty much break lines with elevations that you can change at PIs, also known as vertical points of intersection. To generate a clean surface, we're going to create feature lines at all of the key break line points. So for us, that is going to be our roadway center line, our edge of pavement, our pad. I'll select these cross points so we can dictate how we want the crown to go. This is a good point for us to go ahead and create the first feature line. So I'm going to type in the command create feature lines. We have a site already set up for the FG. FG is in finished grade. Style, standard, that's good. Layer, C3DO feet. That is the automatic generated layer we have, and we want it to stay there. We're going to leave erase existing entities unchecked because we don't want to lose the line work we've already drawn. And we're going to assign elevations to that existing surface, just so we can get started. Okay, from surface, e.g. good, hit OK. With a pain in the boot. And there we have some feature lines. Let's go through how to edit these. So each of these blue squares you see is a PI, and that has an elevation associated with that you can edit. Between PIs, you can set slopes. This button up here on the ribbon, when you have a single feature line selected, will lead you to the quick elevation edit, and here we can edit the slope by direction. Notice the way the arrow points. The fat end of the arrow will hold the elevation and pointing towards the direction you're going. You'll notice the grade there shown as a percentage. So we could click a PI to edit the elevation, or we can click at a midpoint to set the slope from one PI to another. This is going to be a key point. and the pad's going to be a key point. We already set all of the elevations by default to the existing grade, and here at the existing road we know we want to meet existing grades, so 1, 2, 3 PIs are already set for us as needed. Double checking myself to make sure I have vertexes everywhere I need them, because if you cross two feature lines together and there's not already a vertex on both of those feature lines at that point, it will automatically generate PIs that you can't edit. So right here we have a PI that we can't edit. And we can bring up the elevation editor over here to see that. Make this a little larger, front and center. See right here, let's drag that down a little bit. Right here is the grayed out PI that we can't edit. If we click this, you can see the triangle is lit up green. That means we can edit it. So let's fix that. We're going to use the insert feature PI command. That can be typed in, or you can select a single feature line and go up to the buttons for the feature line options and hit insert PI. We're going to click right there at the endpoint, follow through with the command, and now we have a PI where we need it. So we can bring that elevation editor back up, and you'll notice that all the vertexes are green as we intended. So let's add an additional PI about right here, because we know we want to set this road elevation based on a minimum cover for this pipe. Let's insert a PI. We can hit the nearest right here. We'll let that land right there. We are going to draw a polyline to turn into another feature line at this station, perpendicular to the edge of pavement both ways, so we can generate the crown as we desire. So I'll click 1, click 2, go ahead and join those. Then be sure to add elevation or PIs here and here. Let's close that. Insert PI. 1, accept. Follow through with the command. Click on this side. Click. We have a feature line there and there now. Not a feature line, but we have a point of intersection there and there as we needed. We'll click this polyline and type in create feature lines. Site FG, layer fine. We can erase this one, we don't need it anywhere else. No need to assign the elevations, skip that. Let's look at the invert of our pipe. This is the start end, so that will be the high end of the pipe, and we will work towards what we need the road to be based on that. So over here in the pipe properties, we have the start invert elevation at 747.5. Going to type that in my calculator now, so we can work through this without any fool's errors. That is our starting point. We have the size of the pipe also in here, 18 inch. So I'm going to type in 1.5. That's 18 inches converted into feet. And then we want 2 feet of cover, but to be safe, I'm going to add in 2.5 feet on top of that. And we're coming up with 751.5. So we will use the quick elevation edit button up here. Click this vertex and assign that number we just came up with, 751.5 to here. We will work up at 2% to generate a normal crown. We will go back down at -2% away from that center line. So we have a key point set here and a key point set here. We're going to set a smooth slope between those two. We'll go ahead and assume this is going to be a low point in the road. We're going to use another feature line button command. One up here that looks like a little triangle. It says set grade slope between points. Click it. We're going to go to this point, click. We have that elevation set, so we're just going to accept it as it was. And then we're going to drag 3 vertexes over to this low point, click again, and that's going to set a smooth slope between those 2 points. Perfect. Now we're going to use the edit elevation again. And keep up with that theme to generate the normal crown. Down 2% away from the center line. So we're set up to the low point of the road here now. Let's work back towards the pad. We want to get this area kind of mostly cut, maybe a little bit of fill on this corner. This is the higher end of the existing topo, lower end here. So let's take a little hover in here and set the entire elevation equal to the existing grade at this contour, which is 753. So we have this pad feature line selected. I'm going to click elevation editor. We have another grayed out vertex here. PI, we'll fix that later. Right now, I'm going to click any one of these elevations, hit Control A to select all of them. I'm going to click in one cell and type 753, that's the desired elevation, and it's going to move all of those PIs to that elevation. Let's see if we can find that uneditable vertex. Right there it is. Let's just drop another PI right there with the insert feature PI. Good. Now we have a vertex there. Good to go. Let's try and match the existing grade as best as we can through here so that we're not doing a whole lot of cut and fill in the front yard. Already these elevations were set to existing. Let's just go up a foot to account for the pavement section. Let's make that 751. I believe that actually made us lower than the low point here. So perhaps we shouldn't do that. Let's work away from this low point at a percent up. Percent up. See where that landed. 752.56. That'll probably work out a little better for the aesthetics of this. Set the crown here, -2 away from the center on both sides. That will generate a normal crown. Same over here. Same over here. Now let's get our hard surface to go away from the pad, 2% down, so -2 in that direction. Do the same for all 3 of those lines. Leave that level. And we set up to this point. So we'll set a smooth slope along that line using the set grade slope between points. Click 1, accept the elevation there. Go till it lights up here. Click 0.37. Seems a little flat. Let's see if we can find something that works out a little better. We don't want that to be too flat. Otherwise, we'll need to skip away from this normal crown or generate a ditch that moves a little further away as we work down this way. Let's try going up at 1% here. Just keep that going. We'll work up at 2 there. Let's see what that reset our elevation to here. That's not bad off, so let's just make our new pad elevation at 753.5. This will help us with drainage. So let's set that down at 2, just like we did before. Working down at 2% away from the garage. Let's reset this to a smooth slope between this point and that point, negative 1.07. That feels a little better to me. That part of the crown's already set, so let's go back here. 2% down, away from the center. We have another vertex here, so let's keep this side smooth like the other one. Click. Same thing for the center line. Okay. Let's go ahead and create a finished grade surface. I'm going to go over to the tool space here. Right click surfaces, click create surface. I'm going to call it FG. We're going to leave the style as proposed 1 in 5. That's how we want to show our contours for this plan set. We have a surface. Now we need to add feature lines to the definition. So let's click them. We got the edge of pavement in the pad. That'll be enough to get us started. Right click, add to surfaces break line. Choose the FG in that menu, hit OK. We can add a description, but we won't worry about that right now. Just hit OK. And as you can see, we've got a little bit of a surface here. It's like something funky happened over here. Let's see what we messed up. Ooh, 29. That's not right, is it? Let's reset the smooth slope between here and here. And rebuild the surface by right-clicking in the tool space. That's a little better, but the other side's messed up too. So select, select, good. Same thing for the center line. Now I think that got us. Let's rebuild. Much better. Okay, so now we have a surface generated from edge of pavement to edge of pavement. And for the pad, we need to look at tying out to the existing grade and generating a flow path for the water to get away from the house. So let's start up here on the high end of the house. I'm gonna trace a polyline over that back edge, offset at 10 feet. And we're gonna add a vertex here to that midpoint. And I think I want that water to drain to right here. So I'm gonna generate a polyline along where I want that flow path to be. From here to here, a high point along that flow path we'll put here. Click that in, work back this way. We can create a feature line from this, and we will make that where we send the water. So create feature lines, site FG, correct, layer, good. Erase existing entities. Yes, we are going to assign elevations to the existing, because we want our endpoints to be back to existing grade. Hit OK. I'll select this and go to the quick elevation edit command. I'm going to work back up at 2% from this point. So that's 753. We set to 753.5. That's not going to work. I need to drop that down a couple of contours. Let's check the other sun. 752, that might just work. Let's go up at 2%. Up 2%. We're at 753.705. Not quite going to work. We're 10 feet away from that slab here, so we need to be between half a foot to a foot lower. So let's just start at 752.75 there instead, and we'll work down at 2%, down at 2%. Let's see what that generated here. 751 approximately. So my 751's right here. We'll let that be our tie out point. And I believe that was a 751 over there too. Click the quick elevation edit. I'm going to select this endpoint and type in S for surface. We're going to type in S again to select which surface we want, EG. Hit OK. Accept that. Good. So from here, we'll work down at 2% again. And we have a slope away from that point at 1.7%. That'll work. Now, let's generate a grading group off of this feature line that will tie us back to the existing grade. I have the feature line selected. I'm going to Grading Creation Tools up here. I have the Grading Creation Tools up here now. We've set Grade Surface. I'll show you how that is set up here. Just going to hit Edit Current Selection. We can see that we have a target of a surface, projection of a cut fill slope, and the slope set for cut or default 3:1. Same for fill. That will work for us here. Just hit OK. Gonna hit this to create the grading group. Tells us we need to select a target surface. EG is our destination, so hit OK there. Site, this is on the FG, so accept that. I will accept the default name it is created for us. OK. Now it says select the feature. This is the one we want to start with. This is the grading side that we're tying out to existing on. Click. We will apply to the entire length and accept the standard slopes. This feature line represents where we tie out to existing grade based on those criteria. This is too much of a cut slope, it looks like, since we are crossing the property line there. So we need to go back to the drawing board and reset our elevations here. Let's see what we want to do. Let's move this up. Let's call it 753.5. That's getting us inside. Let's work backwards from there, down at 2 there, down at 2 here. That gets us inside of our property lines. Not comfortably though. So let's just hit 754. Work down at 2 there. And here. That looks a lot better. So let's stick with that. Now we're going to manually visualize our tie-out limits around the whole area we've proposed now. I'm going to start here. This is a tie-out point. I'm going to freehand a polyline for this. This is my gut intuition telling me where to go here. Years and years of experience. You may notice that I'm clicking at every crossing point on the existing contours. That will give us a clean surface that shows the proposed contours tying into the existing at the edge of the surface. We can add in more later as needed. We're freehanding this now and going to take a look at it just to see how it turns out. So there's one end of our expected tie-out. We'll generate the other. Click, click. We could do this with a grading group too, but grading groups can be a pain sometimes. So just showing an alternative way to do it here. And our next point is there. So click these two polylines we just drew, create feature lines, finished grade. The layer's good. We can erase these. We do want to assign elevations to the existing surface here, because that is our tie-out point. Hit OK. Now we have feature lines here and here. We can grab this feature line from the grading group, right-click, add to surface as break line, select the FG, hit OK, hit OK. Boom. We've got a surface. We have some areas where triangulations have occurred outside of the limits we want. We'll generate a boundary to clean that up, but I'll turn on a different surface style so you can see where the triangles are generating. Anywhere you can go from a point to a point, the surface is going to create a triangle. We don't want it out here. We'll put in a boundary to trim that up. Let's select this surface, go back to the properties over here and swap back to the proposed 1 in 5 style to get that distracting information out of the way. Before I generate the boundary, I'm going to check some of our slopes here. So I drew a 3-foot radius circle. Cutting across some of those contours. That means I'm a little bit steep there. So we're going to pull those out a bit. More so over here. Over here is fine. So let's move these vertexes out. We could be a little more methodical about this. But for the speed of the lesson, we'll just manually drag these around really quickly. Let this be a little steeper because we can put a head wall in across here to help with that grading. Over here we don't have that option though. Let's just move it out a little bit. Looks like AutoCAD's auto-saving again. The bane of my existence. Probably should have turned that off for the next round. Sometimes you can toggle your snaps off to help speed things up, especially when you're working with these Civil 3D items. gets a little heavy when there's a lot of things to snap to. So you can either use the M button pan setting to 0 and use the middle button to get your specific snaps like I'm doing here. Or you can shift right click with M button pan set 1 and you'll get those same options. Looks okay there. I'll move those feature lines. Before I forget, let's reset the elevation to the existing. Click, click. Let's rebuild. I think things are looking okay. We'll double check on that later. Now let's show you how to get a boundary. I'm going to select this feature line, right click, select similar. We have everything except for the edge of the grading group here, and you can individually select that feature line component of the grading group. I'm going to type in the command, not create, but LINEWORKSHRINKWRAP. And now you see I have a polyline, a closed polyline around all of the feature lines of this surface. So that will represent the exact point where we tie out to the existing grade. I still have that selected. I'm going to leave it selected and go to the tool space over here. Expand the FG and the definition within the FG and right click boundaries. Hit add. This is the outer boundary. I'll title it that. It is an outer type as well, and it's non-destructive because we are on the exact edge of our surface where we want our surface to land. If you were not on the exact edge, just a little bit outside of it, you could use the destructive one, but I prefer to go this route. It's a little cleaner. Hit OK, and now look there. We've got a beautiful surface. I think we skipped adding the center line to the surface because I don't see a crown here. There's just a straight line across. It'd probably be okay to grade this project that way, but let's go ahead and add it so you can see how much different it looks. To the FG. Okay. Now, there's our crown. Now that we're here, we have a good place to stop and look at our masterpiece. I have the surface clicked, selected, right click, and go into the object viewer down here. I have it on shades of gray, and then I'm just going to start tilting this so we can see how we have shaped the land. See our roadway here with the normal crown. Our pad up there. And that drainage swell we created. Things are looking good. 3, 2, 1. And now is a good time for us to add in a little more detail and get this thing looking right. Check this high end of our flow line, 754. We forgot to move that pad back up. So let's make it 754.5. Select the pad feature line. Feature line. Click the elevation editor. We're going 754.5. Move that down away from the garage, 2%. Check these slopes here. %'s not going to work there. Let's just go down 0.5. Same for this one. Should be good. Let's rebuild again. Oh, that's looking a bit better. Everything is working away from the house. We generated a little bit of knoll here with the pad and the drainage around it. Still too steep over here on the edge. We haven't even given ourselves a shoulder yet. So let's show you the quick way to do that. I have the edge of pavement selected. I'm going to use the offset feature command, different from the regular offset command. It's over here, stepped offset, click, offset distance. Let's give them a 3-foot shoulder. Outside of the edge of pavement, elevation difference. Let's not go with the difference, but let's do a grade of -8%, just like NCDOT roads. Okay, so now we've got this feature line that wraps all the way around. Let's get rid of some of it though. I'll use the break feature command. Click, click. Break this other end too. I'm just going to hit spacebar to repeat the command. Now we can click these two, right click, add to surface as break line, send it to the FG. See, we got a little V channel over here now to move the water beside the driveway and on down to the existing swell here. Does not generate a channel on this end because we're in a fill slope on this side. Let's check the space between our contours. We're somewhere near 2:1 there. Let's get that fixed. Let's check it with a grading group to see where we really should land. I have that one selected. I'm going to bring back up the grading creation tools. Go to the surface, select the feature, click the side, tire length, accept 3:1 for the cut and the fill. Let's see where it really lands. How bad I was off. So this green feature line represents the fill limits. Let's move our feature line to be just outside of that at the key locations. And on the other side, I'll show you another way to achieve the same end result. Insert a PI here. Keep in mind that we're moving a lot of things around here, so we're going to remember to reset this feature line back to the existing surface elevations. I'm going to leave this a little tighter here, and we'll plan on showing a small head wall. This side is fine. I'm going to click one of these perpendicular points on the grading group to select the whole grading group and just delete it since we're using that outside piece. This old polyline boundary, we can just go ahead and delete it and recreate it later. We want to set a grading group from this shoulder now. So I'll create another one. Select the grading side to that side. Don't want to do the entire length, so I'm going to hit no. See this little arrow down here? We want to start somewhere in here. Accept that station. work back this way, there. And AutoCAD is generating that grading group now. There it is. I'm gonna move this to connect here. And I'm gonna break that tie out feature. Remove it all the way back up to here. I'll connect to that end and here. I'm going to remove this last leg with the delete PI command. Click. Boom. Let's not forget to reset to existing on these perimeter feature lines we've modified. Set that one. Double tap this one and this one. Then I'm going to select similar on the feature lines. Click my grading group perimeter pieces. I think that generates everything we need to enclose it. So LINEWORKSHRINKWRAP. We have a perfect closed boundary again. So let's add that to the surface. Okay. Let's make sure we have all of our feature lines added. Select similar on everything. Click the grading group feature, the new one. And add to surfaces break line. Send it to the FG. Okay, it's warning us that some of these things were already added. That's fine. We'll accept it. Move our panorama out of the way. You'll notice that we have some triangulation across here that we don't want, and that can be fixed with the order of operations in the surface. So let's go to the tool space, right click the FG, hit surface properties, go to the definition, and let's move that outer boundary down to the bottom. This will make it the last thing it reads in the surface, and it will chop off this extra bit that we didn't want. So hit OK. We'll rebuild the surface. You'll see things are cleaned up now. We have a 3:1 over here. Perfect. We know we have some items to finish up at the head walls. But this has created a pretty detailed surface in it. So let's take another moment to look at our masterpiece in the object viewer, so we can get a good view of these low points where the water will drain. See our crown and shoulder. So I have the surface selected, right click, object viewer. Dang, look at that. You can see our crown of the road working down to the edge of pavement, the shoulder, the 3:1s back down to the existing. You can see this little V channel we created that will keep the water from crossing the driveway. Same along the back end of the pad, working down this way and that way to either side away from our future residents. Beautiful, beautiful. Now that we have this beautiful surface, let's recap on today's lesson. Where did we start? We started with a site plan that was ready for grading, and our end goal was to generate proposed contours. And we did this by creating a Civil3D surface that was built using feature lines, grading groups, and a boundary. Hopefully this gave you a good introduction to the process of simple grading with Civil3D. If you have any specific questions related to the process here, or maybe you would like to use our template, you can reach me at will@nwdpllc.com. Thanks for joining us at the training desk of New Way Designs. We'll see you again soon. I'll also drop that email in the description. See y'all later.